In terms of AFSC, doing things, just sometimes I do basic correspondence work, but when I got here, I got an interesting letter that was following a trend of letters complaining about one facility in the Upper Peninsula. So there seemed to be issues around the conditions of confinement. So, overcrowding. In this situation, it was a pole barn style prison, and it was kind of like little cubes where guys were housed. It should have been essentially 4 guys per cube. It became overcrowded. There were 7, 8 guys per cube. Living conditions were really poor in terms of lack of ventilation, lack of sprinkler systems in the facility. A lot of guys were getting sick. When one person gets sick, everyone gets sick. So I was monitoring that. And now looking at statistics in terms of racial disparities in administrative segregation, so the whole, mostly in the UP, but overall in the Department of Corrections, finding out that the majority of people in segregation are people of color, when that doesn't match up with the statistics for the state of Michigan in terms of basic demographics. From as recently as May of 2013, found out that it was approximately 73% black people in the whole, compared to about 24% white people. Mass incarceration is a racist system, racist, classist, sexist, heteronormative, all the isms, reinforcing systems of power. But I would say that, the issue is, at least I know in the Upper Peninsula, when I was doing the case on the conditions of confinement, we got a lot of staff harassment stuff. So it's the idea that people from Wayne County, which is Detroit, or places like Flint and Genesee County, so highly populated urban areas of mostly black or Latino people, a lot of those facilities have been shut down. So they're being sent out to the Upper Peninsula, which is, almost 90-something% white people. And those places are advocating for prisons to come in. So essentially, competition amongst working class people. So working class white people have to advocate for prisons to come into their areas, for economic help. But they're taking mostly black people from urban, deindustrialized places. So what happens is you have prisons that are majority black with guards that are all white in these rural areas where there's not cultural sensitivity training or anything. So it seems that in most of the complaints that I got about staff harassment were from black prisoners, and saying that we're so quick to get tickets, there's racial harassment at the facilities, things like that. I guess what motivates me, being a person of color, seeing disparities in it, as a young black man, I know that, when it says like in our lifetime 1 out of 3 young black men is destined for incarceration if this trend continues at some point in time. So it's like me and 2 of my best friends, which one of us? Sometimes you think. But has a lot of family, friends that have been locked up. Just understanding that mass incarceration is following a long system of social control. I'm a history guy, so I find this interesting. In terms of understanding that, first it was slavery, Jim Crow, now it's kind of mass incarceration. So how do you control, people of color's bodies? And not even that, it's just poor people, because we're all implicated in it. So those people in the UP that have to advocate for, those mostly white people in the UP that advocate for prisons coming in for economic support, I feel like they're just as much, victims of the system, as well as, the people where they're drawing from populations, which are mostly black or Latino people. Me, along with 5 other people, started a group called Students Organizing Against Prisons. It's a group on campus at University of Michigan. It is following pretty much after Critical Resistance, one of the larger anti-prison organizations. So just kind of trying to start a student prison abolitionist group, while also recognizing in our lifetime prison abolition probably won't happen, but just advocating against, the prison industrial complex, and trying to, the thing is, most people don't think about, especially in a place that's as privileged as the University of Michigan, which is an elite 4-year institution. So prisons are put far away from most people, and you're not even supposed to think about it, and it's easy to vilify people with criminal records. So the idea is to get students to start thinking about this, and that hopefully this can become, I think it will become, the major civil rights issue of my generation. So students organizing against prisons, we do things like try to advocate for ban the box, which is to get the box on job applications off that says, do you have a criminal conviction? Because we recognize that, mass incarceration, the prison industrial complex, to work over essentially 3 stages. So it's post-incarceration, where certain communities are heavily monitored for incarceration, during the actual incarceration and the conditions within it, and then after incarceration, that people are subjected to a second-class citizenship based on a criminal conviction. We do that, a lot of educational stuff on campus with students. Try to do some raising awareness and register people to vote, because felon disfranchisement is a problem. Let's see, what else? We brought Angela Davis to campus last semester, which was pretty cool for a speech. Yeah, a lot of collaborative work as well. So we worked with AFSC, and they've been a big help in terms of helping us organize and work on things. So that's how I got involved. I'll be first to admit I'm very privileged, came from middle-class background. Parents did, good job in terms of raising me. At least I think they did a good job.
Except for the cheese sticks.
Oh yeah, I'm addicted to cheese sticks apparently. But very privileged, able to go to university like Michigan. So understanding that even though I guess I have some, oppressed, identities as a person of color, as someone who probably won't make a lot of money in my lifetime just because I'm trying to go into anti-prison work, but so at the same time, the fact that I'm able to be at a university like Michigan and I have a certain position within society, I'm privileged, but that doesn't excuse me from a type of service, and that there are people that I'm here because there are people that do not have the opportunity to be here, essentially. I'm not advocating for looking at university admissions as like, oh, well, there's certain spots and you took someone else's spot, or that someone has a spot, dedicated to them, but rather that we are all able to be in a certain position of privilege because there are people that are not in a position of privilege, because the way our society is set up, unfortunately, is kind of fighting for resources. So that kind of goes back to the idea that like these rural communities are literally like fighting for resources. So what they have to do is they have to take from, these other communities. I think this internship, it was probably been the best job I've had ever. So because the environment, it's really conducive to self-reflection and just the entire style of it, that on the first day I got here, okay, so I get a case, I'm new, so okay, I'm gonna read this case, I'm gonna try to figure out what to do to say to this guy that wrote me. But I guess my bosses, Pete and Natalie, it's an environment where no matter what question you have, you can ask, there's no hierarchy, there's no rank. So in terms of understanding how to better organize and how, because I think the thing is, if I want to work against the system of mass incarceration, I have to understand that change also starts with changing yourself. So at the end of the day, the system of mass incarceration, you try and, treat people better, don't vilify people who have done, certain things that antisocial behavior, whatever you want to phrase it as. So to understanding the type of environment which is cultivated here at AFSC, that helps understand how I need to better organize, how better treat people moving forward, which can do a lot in terms of my future career and life advocating against incarceration. I would like to do grassroots organizing, because at the end of the day, I think I have to be smart about where pick and choosing my battles, because a lot of it is based in community. So I can't go into someone else's community and try to organize. I don't know what's right. There's specific issues that, certain communities are individualized. So I want to do some type of grassroots community organizing against mass incarceration. If it can become bigger than working in one community, but I think it has to be one community at a time. So hopefully become a national movement and a world movement.